Shabbat Shalom, Good Yontif. A reminder that it is voting season. There is a civic duty, a mitzvah to get out the vote. And I also want to take this opportunity to remind you that there's another vote that's on the near horizon. You'll be hearing more about it. And that is, any diaspora Jew can cast a vote to determine how millions and millions of shekels will be allocated for the Jewish state. It's a very unusual setup. It happens every 5 years, and it's very important that we participate in this kind of election. So please keep a lookout for details on our website and in emails that will be coming out. It's really essential that our Reformed Jewish values are included in the character of the Jewish state and its democracy. Immediately following the service, all are welcome to the Schwartz-Reisman Atrium for lunch. We thank our congregants Isidore and Marcel Philosophe for hosting us. Their generosity is devoted to the memory of Raphael Philosophe and Marie Philosophe. May their memories be for a blessing. Now, I would like to begin where Rabbi McCarroll left off last Shabbat, with one of the countless stories we love to tell about Eliyahu the prophet. The Talmudic tractate devoted to how we pray includes the following account of Rabbi Yosef ben Halafta of the 2nd century Israel. Rabbi Yosef recalls, "I was once walking along the road when it was time to pray, and so I entered into one of the ruins of an old abandoned building among the ruins of Jerusalem. And I noticed as I was praying that the spirit of Elijah the prophet of blessed memory came and guarded the entrance of that ruin for me. He waited there at the entrance until I finished my prayers. And when I came out from the ruin, Eliyahu said to me, 'Greetings to you, Rabbi, my rabbi.' And I answered him, 'Greetings to you, Rabbi Umori, my rabbi, my teacher.' And then Eliyahu asked me, 'Beni, my son, why did you enter this ruin?' I said to him, 'In order to pray.' And Eliyahu scolded me and said, 'You should have prayed on the road.' I explained to him I didn't pray along the road because I was afraid that I would be interrupted by passers-by, that I might be distracted from my prayers. Eliyahu said to me, 'You should have then recited the abbreviated prayers that are designed for such a circumstance as this.' Rabbi Yossi concluded, at that time, from that brief exchange with Eliyahu Hanavi, I learned 3 things. 1, do not enter a ruin. Number 2, you don't need shelter to pray. It's okay to pray out on the open road. And 3, when you do pray along the road, make it a short prayer." Now, this is part A of the story. What can we extrapolate from it? Ruins are dangerous. Do not voluntarily put yourself in a place of danger. Do not choose to put yourself in a depressing setting of a ruin. It is better to be out into the open where passers-by can remind you that you are not alone. Like our ancestors of that first Pesach, you should leave any narrow or constricting place like Mitzrayim and put yourself out into the open spaces of freedom. This is true for all Jews today. We must not put ourselves in a dangerous state of ruin where we are vulnerable to depression and fear. Rather, we must offer our prayers up together with fellow Jews who are walking along the way, who are on the move, who are on the march. This is no time for sitting still. I'd suggest the 3 things Rabbi Yosef learned from Eliyahu Hanavi are especially true for mourners. Do not isolate yourself with your grief. Yes, your grief is uniquely yours and only yours, but it is better and healthier to bring your grief to a public place where fellow travelers and fellow mourners can acknowledge you in your grief and remind you that you walk among the living. Your life is not in ruins. It is only in mourning, and only for a time. And third, the prayer of a mourner should be brief. Soon we will turn to Yizkor, the memorial prayer, which will be brief, so that we can return to the uplift of this Shabbat and this Pesach. Now, Pesach is associated with the attribute of emunah, faith. But Michal Biton of the Hartman Institute points out that there isn't just one kind of emunah. There are many kinds of faith. There's the kind that stands firm, confident, grounded, unshakable, and there's the kind that wavers. There's the faith that falters and then rebuilds itself. Both kinds of faith are very real, and both are essential expressions of a rich spiritual life. There should be no pretending here. Whether your faith is like this or like that, we honor you this day. The scene before, during, and after the splitting of the sea included both kinds of emunah. And this year, these two forms of faith are not just in Torah, they are all around us. Remember, when the sea was before us and Pharaoh's army at our backs, we cried out to Moses. Moses cried out to God, and God answers, Ma titzak elai? Why do you cry out to me? Daber el bnei Yisrael, vayisa'u. Tell the Israelites to go forward. God does not ask for faith. God does not ask us to believe. God does not even ask us to pray. God asks us to move. This is another kind of faith, the kind that says, act as if, act ki'ilu, walk forward, advance, even when you're scared, even when you're lonely. Sometimes faith moves our feet, and sometimes our feet moves us towards faith. Philosopher William James calls this the will to believe. The idea that in matters of deep meaning, sometimes we must act as if, ki'ilu, something is true before we fully believe it to be true. Sometimes faith is found in the ruin, in a low point of our grief. And sometimes taking the step out of the ruin makes it possible to believe. At the shore of the sea, what mattered most was not clarity, it was movement. Good people, in many ways, we have been stuck since October 7th, 2023. For 560 days, we have not been able to move with confidence or grace. Our faith has been shaken. Pesach is the celebration of the day when our ancestors got unstuck. After 430 years from the ruins of slavery, we took that breath, that deep breath, and we cried out to God, and God answered, today, tonight, at midnight, it's time to move. We didn't have time for our bread to rise. The demand of that moment was to advance, to step out from the ruin, and to trust that faith would be found. That movement matters for us now. In times like these, perhaps the question, what do I believe, is too far a stretch. Sometimes the questions in reach are, what do I want to believe? What do I wish I could believe? And then how can I act in such a way that will move me in the direction of that belief? That kind of faith, which may be halting or fragile, but chosen, is still faith. It is very real, and it can carry us through the ruins and through the waters. It can even carry us through the ruins of Gaza. We learn from rescued and released hostages many examples of how this is true. From the ruins of Gaza, Leary made a Haggadah to surprise her fellow hostages. They cleaned their room for Pesach. They made decorations with little scraps of paper as they could find. And then, as best they could from memory, they sang the Pesach songs. Or consider Daniela Gilboa, held captive for 477 days. She was forbidden to speak in Hebrew, and so she translated the song Shalom Aleichem into Arabic, so she would be permitted to sing it on Friday nights to welcome in Shabbat. She sang a song of faith in the ruins of Gaza. Shalom, O angels on high, enter in peace and bless us with peace. Keith Siegel was held hostage by Hamas for 484 days. He recently shared that his captors tried to convert him to Islam. Keith was raised in the United States as a secular Jew. He made Aliyah to Israel as a secular Jew, but in the ruins of captivity, he found his way to a kind of faith. His daughter Shir tells us, Dad searched for his Jewish identity while in captivity, and he found it in small prayers. He started saying blessings over food. He had never said these before, and the Shema he had never recited in his life. He said that amidst all that hell, he wanted to remember that he was Jewish, that there was meaning to his people and to the place from which he had come, and that strengthened him greatly. After he returned, his daughter recalls, I asked him, Abba, what would you like for your first Shabbat meal together in freedom? I imagined he would ask for his favorite dish or maybe some good challah, but instead he answered, you know what I want most of all? A kippah and a kiddush cup. Omer Shem Tov in captivity says, Shabbat protected me there and kept me safe for 5 months. It was a miracle. I managed to find half a bottle of grape juice, and I used it for kiddush each Shabbat, and that bottle never ran out. The juice never spoiled, even in the hot tunnels. It reminded me of the story of Hanukkah when a single flask of oil lasted for 8 days. It showed me that God was with me there in the ruins. And Sagui Dekel Chen, just days after his release, he joined with his friends and his family, and he took up a guitar, and he sang a well-known Israeli song, Keren Shemesh, Ray of Sun. Don't go, Ray of Sun, our day isn't over yet. He explained that he sang this song for 498 days in captivity. My son was not taken from me. I decided not to give in, and I spoke to the sun every day. I ask everyone who hears me, do not lose hope. Trust me, it runs deep. And then there is Agam Berger, one final example of many more. On the helicopter that took her out of Gaza and into freedom, she wrote on her whiteboard, I chose the path of emunah. I chose the path of freedom, and through the path of emunah, I have returned home. Her words were recently recorded in the Wall Street Journal. Today I am home, healthy and whole in body, soul, and spirit. This Pesach, I am reflecting on my freedom. When Hamas overran the Nahal Oz base on October 7th, many of my friends were murdered. In those harrowing moments, as I was being kidnapped, I had the freedom to choose what to say. And so I recited continuously the same verse that Jews on the threshold of death have said for millennia, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. I learned, as my forebears did, that imprisonment cannot overwhelm the inner spiritual life. Our faith and our covenant with God, the story we remember on Pesach, is more powerful than any cruel captor. This emunah, the emunah of Pesach, the faith of this festival of freedom, is that sometimes God enters history. Sometimes God breaks into human history. Sometimes God becomes manifest in our own lives, in our own stories, from the ruins of slavery to the shores of the sea. And how do we increase the chances of this, that God will be with us? By advancing, by picking up our feet and navigating our way through this broken world and moving this world inch by inch further towards redemption. This is true for all of God's people. This is especially true for our people. And this is especially true for mourners. The Talmudic story of Rabbi Yosef ben Chalafta and Yehuda Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, it doesn't end there, so let me share with you the B part of the story. After Elijah's instruction about where and how to pray, he asked Rabbi Yosef, "Tell me, when you were in that ruin, what did you hear?" "I heard a heavenly voice, cooing like a dove and saying, 'Woe is my children, woe is the children of Israel.'" Elijah said to me then, "Not only did that voice cry out in that moment, but it cries out 3 times each and every day. You must learn to hear it. How great is the pain of the father who exiled his children. And now he coos and cries like a dove, the only thing that brings God comfort." Eliyahu Hanavi teaches, is hearing his children gathered in the synagogues and study halls saying the words of Kaddish. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach. May God's name be blessed. Elijah continues to explain, the Holy One, blessed be God, shakes God's head, so to speak, and says, "Happy is the one who is praised in his own house." What does this part of the story come to teach us and to teach those who mourn this day? That when we are in ruins, God weeps with us. When we are in mourning, God mourns with us. And the only thing that can give comfort to the Creator on high, to the Holy One, blessed be God, is the recitation of Kaddish. When God's children suffer and struggle and get stuck in the cruelty of human history, God longs to hear, Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Magnified and sanctified is your holy name. Page 340.